I wanted to start the conversation in a different way than before. Usually we start with Iran, but given that the midterms are coming, I want to see if you guys have any ideas regarding uh, brainstorming ideas on how to push back against the Islamic commie political influence that is growing in United States. Because the more I look into this, the more it seems like they are so organized, and as bad as their ideas are, their methodology and their campaigning, and there's a lot that they're doing to spread their garbage ideas, right? So this August, I think, should have been a major wake-up call for Americans, and I don't see it being as big of a wake up call as people as it should be. Like a lot of, we're paying a lot of attention to Iran, and the things that needs to be done to push back against the Islamic Republic. But honestly, if we lose United States even a little bit to these forces, then going forward is going to be hard to push back against any of our enemies, like whether it's the okay, am I? Whether it's the Islamic Republic, Hamas, Hezbollah, the CCP, Putin. So we just had, so we got you. I mean, if you guys don't know, Abdul El Sayed won the primary for Senate. And he's like, if he also wins the midterm, it's going to be the first Muslim. Oh, is my audio off? No, my audio is okay, guys, right? Yeah, no, audio is okay. Somebody in the chat saying audio is off, but I think my audio is okay. Yeah, so it's going to be the first Muslim in Senate. We know Elon Omar already won the primaries for Congress. We have Hassan Piker becoming more and more influential in politics for some goddamn reason, um, which is a big deal. Somebody that has been somebody that would quote celebrate saying United somebody that says United States deserved 9/11. That's what who Hassan Piker is. Somebody who has said that he doesn't care that Hamas raped people on October 7th. If somebody like that is becoming a bigger deal in US politics, that is, I mean, I don't know, that shows how derailed US politics is getting. Also, we had a couple of days ago, we got the news that this woman who in McDonald's shouted "Free Palestine" at this Israeli customer, she lost her job and she had to GoFundMe. And within just a short amount of time, she managed to raise more than $200,000 for getting fired from her job just because she shouted. Like, people supported her. More than 7,000 people supported her. She raised $200,000, $230,000, right? For I think the left is getting more and more radical, and a lot of people are underestimating them, thinking like, oh, they're too radical, they're not going to win, the midterms because they're too radical. Yeah, sure, maybe they're not going to win the midterms, but a couple of years ago, it was insane that they could even win primaries. So maybe now we're at the position that they can win primaries, but not the midterms. But at some point, we might get to a position that they could also win midterms. I mean, but the direction, these people are very, very organized. They vote as a bloc. They are single issue voters. They have managed to very effectively use the so called Palestinian cause um, in their advantage. And you shouldn't, just because their ideas are stupid and makes no sense, you shouldn't underestimate them. As bad as their ideas are, their political activism and the methods that they use to take over American politics is very, very advanced. And I don't see, I see many good commentators um pushing back against their ideas, but there doesn't seem to be a strategy, like a political strategy to push these people back. It's all just, oh, this is why this idea is bad, this is why that idea is bad. And there's so many good people with a big audiences and big followers highlighting how bad these ideas are, but none of that is translating into on the ground I mean, maybe I'm missing it. Maybe you guys are going to be like, no, Armin, there is a lot of good examples of people pushing back, not just with ideas, but underground when it comes to gathering votes. But from where I'm sitting, and again, I'm not American, so I'm here to be educated by you guys. But for where I'm sitting, it looks like losing this fight. I mean, anti-Israeli views in the United States has is the highest it has ever been. So more Americans are now pro-Palestine than so-called pro-Palestine, and we have ever seen in the history of the United States. So things are moving in the wrong direction, and people think like, oh, we're so good, we're not like the UK. Yeah, I mean that's how you get like the UK, by thinking that we're okay. Anyways, this should be concerning to anybody anywhere in the world, whether you are American or not. Because honestly, we don't have a bigger force than America guaranteeing pushing back against these forces, right? So if we lose America, we lose the world. So even if there's a low chance of us losing this, this is not just a threat to American politics. This is a threat to civilization. So just you guys come up with some ideas on what's the best way to push back against all of this. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm freezing today. Is my audio okay? All right, let's just move on to other people.
Yeah, your camera and audio were really weird there for a few seconds, Armin.
Okay.
And you're kind of blurry too. Anyway, so the first two is
Okay.
Jose.
I understand the confusion because of the races last night. Hong, especially, lost by 4% of the Democratic vote in her state. And yeah, I think the fact remains is Noah was here for a bit and I asked him if he can find us the turnout for the Democrats, how many actually voted compared to how many are registered in the state. That would literally tell us whether the Democratic Socialists of America are at 50-50 with the regular Democrats. If that's the case, there's a problem. Okay. If it turns out it's like Florida, where the Republican versus Democratic get out the vote, the Democrats are losing by 5 million voters to the Republicans. And that's not usually the case. So basically, the Democrats are not coming out to vote in Florida. So that's what you have to look at. I think the one thing we need to keep aware of is Hassan Piker's words after, because if he would have instead, he basically is blaming the rest of the Democratic Party for Hong's loss. There will, and literally speaking, expect knives to come out, is what he said. I'd consider that inflammatory. I consider that dangerous. I consider that a threat to the election system in the United States. But what agency is going to put him to task for that? You know, he is becoming a lot more popular with the college age kids. Um, so yeah, it's something to watch. I think the more dangerous one the other one that we need to look at, she's not facing a DSA candidate, but it's Lindsey Graham's sister in South Carolina, who's in a runoff race for the Republican ticket with another Republican, and then she's going up against a Democrat that people believe will make Southern California have a Democratic senator for the first time in 50 years. A very, very serious threat. So those are the races that I think are going to be more interesting because honestly, Armin, we had people in the Senate that tried to impeach Donald Trump again and again and again last year, or do the what's it called? The good God, I got all so many words in my head right now. Do the War Powers Act against them and what they wrote and submitted. was like elementary students versus the rest of Congress. So even the Democrats shot those down so fast because you can't just go out there and say, because I think he's a this and a that and a that, and put those words in it, which is what Tlaib did on both her occasions where she tried to take it out. You know, they ignored the laws, the rules of order, and just threw out whatever they decided they wanted to put on a paper. And the Democrats weren't going about to be accused of being stupid, which is basically what she was being very, very, not very, very intelligent. Um, but yeah, it's worth watching. I think it's early. I think basically it's those of us in America just need to talk to our family and friends, see where they're at, and then go from there. You don't have to yell at your mom or your dad if they're both still alive and they're both thinking Democrat. Okay. I know I'm not going to have that problem in my family, but yeah, yeah, yeah. It's something you have to do. You talk to your family members and go that way. Don't react. Don't get angry. Just say, "That's interesting. Do you know this? You know, do you know where the money's coming from?" Have them look into it. You'll be surprised if they've got any use out of AI. You'll be surprised how quickly they might all of a sudden think, "Oh, do I really want to do that?" And that's all you really got to do. That's all I got.
Next is Corey.
Yes, hello. One thing I'm thinking about, I find it kind of strange how Islam and appealing to, well, sympathy for Islam has gained more prominence on the American left lately, considering how few Muslims there are in America as a proportion of the overall population. I mean, it kind of makes somewhat more sense in at least, well, especially urban centers in Western Europe, where there's been a lot of Muslim immigration for left-wing parties to try to pander to Muslim votes in order to get elected in those areas. But when there are so few Muslims in America, why is this becoming important there at all? I mean, I know that in wokeness they view Muslims as a kind of oppressed group, but still, it's strange to me.
Next is Sherry.
I thank you. I'm going to beg for forgiveness before I even get started, Armin. First of all, the communist. I think you're. I appreciate you waking up. I don't know if waking up is the right term, on how complicated and how wide stretched this is. On January 10th of 1963, in the U.S. Congress, it was put into the U.S. Congress congressional record that what the 45 communist goals are. Now we're talking 1963. Those communist goals, there's 45 of them, but they come from USSR, not Russia, USSR. First of all, I didn't make them up. It's not my list. It is part of the congressional record. I posted a research I did over 2 decades ago on this very topic. And the best thing I can tell you is if we look at it as an octopus, but this octopus doesn't have 8 arms, it has 5. And they are using culture, media, education, politics, and legal. They're very well organized. They infiltrated every single part of those 5 places in order to spread their communist message and turn America that they are attacking us from within. Exactly. But I've done this research 2 decades ago, and this is something that we will be talking about later tonight on a different channel, but please pay attention. Please pay attention. I did a post in your community board. It's a 3-stage post, but the only one I posted was the one that gives the 45 communist goals. And I break it into the 5 different arms of the octopus. Because if you read 1 through 45, you're just going to get lost. But what I did is I printed them out. It took me a long time to do this research, and it's my baby, and I'm proud of it. Because I printed them all out, and then at the end I would say, universal health care, blah, 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 this, that, and thing. And I would, okay, this is a culture thing. This is a legal thing. This is a politics thing. This is a media. This is, I made notes. Some of them overlap, but I did that research and I'm proud of it. And I think if you go to the link on the research that I did, that blog site is no longer active, because you'll see a little thing on the side that says tip jar. It's no longer active. I'm not looking for anybody to try and send me money or tip anything. And I'm welcome for anybody. It's just an awareness and an educational tool. And I would like anybody and everybody to use it to spread the message, because
Sherry,
it's very,
you're
very important.
muted.
No, she's not muted. Continue, Sherry. I can hear you. Continue.
I just want to invite anybody to use the work I did to spread it in their own way. It's just, it's important to get the message out. It's not really about the credit. It's always been there, the 45 communist goals. I just hope that you like the platform I put it in, where it puts in the 5 different categories. So we understand that we have a lot on our table in order to, we all have to find our own talents and our own gifts, whether they be politicians, whether it be somebody who can post videos, whether it's somebody who can use IA. All of us need to compete against that octopus, but use our own gifts. We have to be as dedicated as they are and use our gifts.
Next is Shauna.
Two comments. One is that I think that before Trump really got the deportations going, we didn't really have a clear map for what the political landscape really looked like, because we were getting a lot of not false flags, but just mixed signals, because we didn't know we knew that there was cheating going on. We also knew that there was a lot of lawfare going on. Like, it's very hard to kind of, at least for me, to see what was what. Right now, what I think was happening is we're getting a much more clear view of how radicalized our younger generation actually is. And so I think that that's part of it, is we're dealing with a generation that is clearly radicalized and is clearly becoming more radicalized. Now, I do have some optimism that individuals are de-radicalizing. Like, there's been videos of young people, well, I say young people, I would say people my age and younger, I'm 40, that were like really happy about Charlie Kirk's death, and then watched his videos because somebody just said, hey, have you ever watched his videos? And then they went through some kind of growth process. Individuals waking up to that is fantastic, but we need some mass immunizations going on, right? I think that Jose's right, that we should be talking to, this is my second point, we should be talking to our families. I think for Americans, we need to be just looking at our local candidates, and instead of focusing it on Democrat versus Republicans, I think we can say, hey, this particular voter supports this, or this particular candidate supports this specific thing, and maybe remove it from the Democrat versus Republican or left versus right conversations, and say, hey, I think that you prefer somebody who supports Israel if they're Democrat and supports Israel. Or, like, my mom is not a communist. She's a lifelong Democrat, but she's fiscally moderate and leans right. So she would be somebody I'd say, hey, this governor has a lot of really left-wing policies I don't think you'd be supportive of. Maybe would you look at XYZ? Now that's my particular case, but just take that concept and apply it to your own situation if you're an American. And that's basically all I had to say is yes, I do think we have a radicalized situation going on, and we really do need to hone in our local elections and maybe try to move away from Democrat versus Republican and focus on policies locally.
Next is Noah.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Oh,
Yes.
okay. Thank you. So I think we need to show evidence and proof what happens when in these Islamic countries, these radicals get in power. You lose many of your freedoms, your liberties. For women, it's a lot more because they're viewed less than a man, so they're not even viewed as equal to a man. They can't dress the way they want to. They can't travel without a man's permission in some of these countries. They can't make money sometimes, as is the case in Afghanistan. And their body freedoms are especially curtailed. And as for religious liberties, or even being an atheist is restricted or not even allowed. I think those are the things we need to show and explain what happens when these people get into power. And you're especially right, 1979 was a big example of that. Women had a lot of freedoms in Iran, and then they disappeared because these radicals got into power. That's all I have.
Next is you, Armin.
Yeah, I just so I looked into what Cora was asking, like how is it that these people with just 1% get to have this much influence? And you know what? That's a good question, because maybe we should copy Muslims, because if they get to be like whatever they're doing is working for them, so let's like see what the hell they're doing, right? So okay, so these are the reasons why they get to have this much influence in the United States with 1%. So it says rather than being spread evenly across the country, Muslim voters are heavily concentrated in critical presidential and Senate battleground states, most notably Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Arizona. So that's number one. Two, Muslim political organizations have built dedicated infrastructure designed specifically to maximize voter registration, endorsement leverage, and campaign fundraising. So, but number one, I don't know if we could copy that. I don't know if think that's doable. But number two is doable. I don't know if there's one number one. Because so number two, like, do we like? Why don't we? Do we have that on our side? Like they say we do, but do we? Like they blame, like they say APAC, 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 but I don't know. Like why do they get to be this effective? I think it's mostly because they have more money on their side, like Qatari money maybe, or Islamic Republic money. It's oil money. Okay, so number three, uh, to multiply their numbers, Muslim political organizers systematically form alliances with progressive, socialist, and far left activist organizations. So that's number three. And guys, this is why leftism is basically opening the gates of civilization to the barbarians. Okay, and number four, leveraging digital media and online influencers by tapping into high volume online streaming platforms and digital activist networks, like Hassan Piker, for example. Muslim political leaders bypass traditional media gatekeepers to build nationwide funding streams. So these are the four reasons why they get to be this influential with 1%. By the way, guys, imagine if they get to be this influential with 1%, what can they do with 5%? Like people think like, oh no, it's gonna be so bad when they're majority. No, it's gonna be so bad. It's already bad, and it's gonna be so bad when they get from 1 to 5%. These people can do so much with 5%. You don't it's if you're waiting for a disaster, you don't have to wait for them to get to 51%. You're gonna get that with 5%. All right. So that was me.
Next is Kat.
Yeah, sorry for the time it takes me. I've seen also, but I don't know if it's a very anecdotal. I've seen some Democrats, maybe more moderate ones, or specifically maybe what I saw was Jewish. I'm not sure how it's represented. It's representing the whole, but I've seen some of them that were spooked by that, and some say, well, maybe we will consider voting for someone who is less, even maybe, I don't know, afraid to say, but maybe even a Republican. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. It's at least on the table, you know. It's something they discuss now, shamefully, like they whisper it. And I've seen it with specifically, I've seen it with there is this guy, Nate Friedman. He went on and interviewed people in, I think it was Vermont or whatever, I'm not sure, someplace, and he just happened to come by to Democrats, and they were saying this, and after that they said, oh, we're Jewish, by the way. So, and they're lifelong Democrats and all that, you know, but they didn't look like those, like they're not, they said, like, we cannot vote for an anti-Israel, like, you know, they're probably in the middle. So I don't know, I wonder if it will actually create some backlash, or is it not big enough? I don't know.
Next is me. So first of all, DNC needs to root out all the DSA people. And quite frankly, Al Sayed's connections to the Muslim Brotherhood is disqualifying. He should not, he should be basically recalled from the race, and the Republicans should run unopposed. If they have any backbone, that is what they will do, because I'm sorry, but he's connected entirely to a terrorist organization, and that is enough to disqualify him. He should not be on the ballot. It's ridiculous. And the DNC needs to run against DSA. Now, I've looked it up, and apparently a DSA, they'll fund themselves, but they're also relying on the fact that they're not going to oppose each other, right? That needs to change. They need to, the DNC needs to look at the DSA as the enemy and run against them. And yes, it will split their vote, but that's what they should do. They should split their vote. And then they'll see the DSA take people, and then they both lose. And that's the way it has to be. If you want your republic to remain a republic, that is what you need to do. You need to sacrifice power. And on the other side, the GOP needs to be a bigger tent. And my best example is Nexenor. I don't know if a lot of people watch Nexenor, but I like Nexenor. I like most of his takes. He's obviously very pro-Israel. But he'll say things like, if a woman has a career and she isn't married and popping out babies and being a mother, then, you know, she's like the devil. That's extreme. You need to make room for women that aren't, you know, don't want that. And it doesn't make them evil and horrible people. And I just, you know, they don't need to be a gigantic crazy tent like the Democratic Party has become, but they need to be a little bit wider, a little bit, yeah, they just need to be a little more accepting of differing opinions. And my opinion of this is that Republicans generally, if you talk to them, they are actually like that. But they need to be officially like that. That's my point. So next is Jose.
Thank you. Jorgensen, my friend, let me correct something in your thinking. The faces might be Muslim. Hung was a pure communist, 100% communist. Her thoughts followed exactly what Sherry was talking about, the five technicals of how to get it done. Okay, that what they're preaching is not the Muslim faith. They're preaching communalism. They're preaching socialism. They're preaching communism. They're going on the fact that the college age kids are 100% sure that they'll never own a house. Okay, 100% sure that they'll never make the money that their parents made. 100% sure that they're going to fail. They won't look at the degrees they're getting. Okay, they'll look at, I should be making this much a year. Yeah, and what you got is a homemaker's degree, how to cook, how to clean house, and that kind of stuff. Sorry, that means you're a housewife. Have your husband make the money. It's that kind of false narrative that's been put into the brain of the youth that's really messing it up. You're right. 1% ain't going to do shit. Okay, especially if they're scattered as they are. You know. It's the growth that is the bigger threat. And as long as they're tied to the Communist Party, and DSA is another way of calling it the Communist Party. Okay. So matter of fact, a little bit to the right of the Communist Party, the Nazis. Okay. The kids don't know that. The kids would immediately have a cow if they were called Nazis. That's what you call Republicans, not us. You know? And that's the game, the narrative game. So you are right, but you need to consider that it's not the Muslim faith that they're speaking about. They're talking communism, just like Iran fell under the communists first, and then the mullahs took over and killed the communists, which is very possible what could end up happening if they actually do take over in this country. So yeah, there's a lot of confusion out there. And I just wanted to have an opportunity to talk to you flat out and educate you on that one point. No offense, my friend. You still bring good topics and good ideas here. I just wanted to correct your thinking there. That's all.
Next is Shauna.
I would like to point out something, and I need you guys to hear my whole thought before we get sensitive. One of the strategies that these kind of communists in Muslim faith, so to speak, or Muslim and communist faith, however you want to see it, are being successful in some of these areas, is because they are using the same strategy that other political parties and minority groups have used in the past. And so that it's not like they're inventing the playbook. They're getting handed the playbook by people who think that they're being welcoming. And by people and by other communists. And so those are two things are happening. The other thing that I kind of want to talk about is one of the reasons I one of the things that one of the things that the Nazis say that is true, but it's not, that they're wrong in their conclusion, is it is true that there is a lot of Jewish Democrats that have a lot of power in this country. That is true. It's in certain cities, though. If you look at major blue cities, a lot of them have a lot of Jewish Democrats who help run the things. Now, I think this is a fabulous thing because I think Jews bring a lot of talent and good things to the world. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think a lot of cities have benefited from that. That being said, one of the things that we should think about is to pull some of these moderate Democratic Jews into our kind of stream and sort of like Neil Bunny was talking about, make it more big tent in certain areas, because we could not just protect our swing states, but we could even think about turning over our blue states if we can get some of these donors that are pro-Israel donors onto our side. especially if we got like a Rubio in charge, because a lot of it's just Trump. He offends them on a like a visceral level. But if it was like a Rubio, somebody who was a little bit more polished, I think we could kind of pull them in. And I don't just mean Jewish Democrats. I mean Democrats in general. Like my mom just does not like him. It's just a visceral thing. So, it's something that I want to sort of push out there, and kind of talk about maybe it's not just protecting the swing states, but maybe we need to get our boots on the ground a little bit in America, our little voting boots, and talk about how we can kind of pull these people over and use the DSA as an example of where the Democrats are going to pull people into our party. Just as a thought, because a lot of these blue cities do have a lot of Jewish wealth and influence. I just don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. And anyway,
Next is Sherry.
I want to revisit real quickly something that Shauna already shared, and that is, we have to think about our local elections. Too many people only pay attention to the general election and not what's going on locally. I don't care if it's your school board. I don't care. Get involved, pay attention, do some research. And we're lazy on that. We're in a TikTok generation where they want everything handed to them in 30 seconds. Also, I wanted to point out one other thing. When Obama was running for office, Michelle Obama, his wife, was very clear in her speech. She said, we need to change our history. We need to change our education. We need to change our traditions. And this is exactly what we're seeing played out with the DSA. We got to get our shit together, understand what they're trying to do, what their game plan is in order. It's like Uncle Jeff would tell us, it's a battle plan. They have a battle plan. Well, we have to understand what their battle plan is so that we can conquer it.
Next is Faithful Disciple.
I'm not hearing anything. Are you guys hearing anything?
I can't hear you.
Faithful, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. We used to be able to hear you.
We have heard you in the past.
Yes.
All right. Okay, well, I was checked. So maybe try and work out what's going on with your microphone, and I'll just sort of say what I wanted to say, and hopefully by the time I'm done, you're ready to go. How about that? So I was listening to what Jose said, and it's such a really good point about how kids just don't see a future for themselves, and that's true. If you have a future where you don't think you're ever going to actually own anything, communism sounds good because you don't own anything, right? And I can see why I mean, it's crazy, but I can see where they're coming from, I guess. And there just needs to be a better system than go to college or don't go to college in the United States. So, I mean, things like apprenticeships, learning trades. Trades, I mean, there are loads of trades and they're AI proof. Your plumber is not AI. Your builder is not that's not going to be replaced by AI. Somebody who has to actually come into your house and like work on something or build a house or all of these things. These are incredibly important, and they're and it's all over the US where people actually need these things, and there aren't enough people to fill these roles. And I wish that they would look into that, or there was some program where you could get into that and see that there's really opportunities there. Another thing is farming. US's farming industry is horrendous. The food is really low quality. You don't have enough farms. You have farm states. Do you know how nuts that is? There needs to be farming in every state. You need to grow your food in every state, all over the state. That's what you need. And it's really important that people know how to farm and keep topsoil, or because once you lose your topsoil, you are screwed. These are really important things. And, you would have an actual purpose. Um, and, because I think that a lot of them are looking for a purpose when they join these crowds screaming Free Palestine. It gives them some kind of purpose where they feel like they don't have a purpose. It's a terrible purpose, but it gives them one. So you have to give them a different purpose, and that is something that that can be through programs. I don't know how to do that, but usually they're through universities or through trade groups or things like that. But I feel like those opportunities should be out and completely all over the United States, to give people, make them feel like they're actually part of this economy, and that they actually have something to lose by going down the avenue of communism. Because communism, I hate communism. I really hate communism. I worked for a Chinese company for many years, and I know what communism did to China. It took an amazing culture, a beautiful, incredible culture, and it completely destroyed it. And it didn't take very long to do it. And I don't know if they're ever going to come back from it. I hope so. But watching it day in and day out, it's just so depressing. So Faithful Disciple left us. He came back and now he's gone again. So I'll see if there are some other twos besides him. Kat has
Yeah,
a two.
actually, I was planning to do my two in order to give him more time, but never mind. It's still an issue that I want to ask. Another thing that I heard, I don't remember when earlier, but I've heard in the past that Democrats were like, oh, we're not, we'll never be Republicans. Maybe Rubio, maybe, like, they were more sympathetic towards Rubio for some reason. And I wonder what is the reason? Like, what is it about Rubio that some Democrats can say, maybe?
Next is Sherry.
Again, I'm sorry. I never put this many twos in any conversation, but I'm passionate about this subject. Nail Bunny really put a lot of things on the table that hit it for me. When in the 1980s, when I'm showing my age, I went to Lassiter High School in Cobb County. It was 100% just college gold. Your goal was going to college. We were in the East Cobb Snob territory. There was another high school. It was called Sprayberry, also in Marietta, also in Cobb County. But they would provide the agriculture, the mechanics, the woodworking, all those other things that we're talking about trades. But they didn't offer it at my high school. So if I wanted to take one of those, I had to commute there on a bus and take it. But then you got left behind because of your transportation back and forth, ended up making you kind of skip a class per se. And there are technical colleges being built, and there are some that still exist here in America. And they're getting very much more local. They used to be called community colleges, but now they're pretty much called tech schools, where they'll offer, classes on driving truck, doing air control, air traffic control, et cetera, et cetera. And I think those are important. I think that is 100% important. We need to get back to the fact that America provides for itself instead of shipping all of our stuff overseas and not letting America be self-reliant. Sorry, I'm just passionate about this.
Don't apologize. Next is Shauna.
Two things. One, to nail Bunny's point. I said it in the side panel, but just America's already building some of that out. So I think in the next 5 years, we will see. I am hoping. I'm not saying don't get your little boots on the ground and don't talk to your family and don't go vote. Do all of those things. But I do think in the next 5 years, we will see that being built out because we are so desperate for employees right now in certain fields. Like my area specifically is hungry hippos for HVAC workers. HVAC is heating, ventilation, and AC, I believe. It might just be and conditioning, I'm not sure, but it's definitely heating and ventilation. And there's all of these new programs being spread throughout the country where these private companies are building manufacturing. They're also building out the programs because Trump's administration is basically forcing them to hire at home more. And so they're building out the base that they're going to need. So that's something that's actively happening, if that makes for Nail Bunny's information. To Kat's point, the reason why some moderate Democrats would go for Rubio is basically threefold. He's a little bit more polished. He has a lot more state experience. So if you're more geopolitically involved, so if you have military family or you have family who are immigrants, or if you have family who live overseas, then you're going to be much more aware of geopolitics than the majority of the country. And Rubio has a lot of international experience. He's just better geopolitically than most Republicans have kind of seemed to a lot of Democrats in my lifetime. I'm not saying whether the Democrats are right or wrong. I'm just saying that that's been the impression. And the other thing too is it does help his case that he's Hispanic and that he's an immigrant or the child of an immigrant. I don't remember which it is, but that does help because my area, for example, most of the Jews here are not Ashkenazi; they're mostly Sephardic. So a lot of them speak Spanish. A lot of them have really warm ties to the Hispanic community. So that is also a factor. Just if that helps.
Next is Jose.
Okay, a little digging on Wisconsin, the race last night. In 2022, the last time they went for governors, the Democratic candidate received 1,358,774 votes. Okay? Last night, in the race, a total of 7,092,000 Democratic votes, of which 686,263, or 86% of them, voted for the governor's race. Okay? If you look at the difference between the total voter turnout in 2002 and so far in this year, that's less than 58% of the voters that voted last time that voted this election for Hung. And I'm wondering if this is not what pattern we're going to see, because these were primary votes. So you're not going to have a huge turnout, but still you can see by the numbers there that that's still a very large number of people that said, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Let everybody else choose. Okay. So it's that kind of statistics that if we can figure out the rest for Michigan and the governor and the senatorial race there, what that was like, we can figure out what the potential would be. Now, it's a flawed way of doing it as well, because they're not a full year versus a full year's worth of voting, but it gives you an idea that difference is over 100,000 votes that decided not to vote one way or the other. That's all I got.
So Samantha wanted me to read something, but just before I do that, I just wanted to say to Sherry that I am the product of a community college. So it isn't just trade; it's you transfer to university. Yeah, so you can go there and do your lower division, and you transfer to a university. It's the poor kids' way of getting to university, actually, in the U.S. So I can vouch for community colleges all the way. Absolutely. I wouldn't have been able to ever go to university if it weren't for community colleges, because my family is way too poor. So sorry. So Samantha says reasons Democrats don't want Rubio. He's anti-abortion. He supports defunding Planned Parenthood. He's against affordable health care and against gay marriage. Now, if it's okay, I wanted to respond to that, and on behalf of a few people that are actually saying things in the chat, because I agree with them. Those to me are just really not primary issues at this point. Basically, the concept, the subject of abortion, that has been returned to the states, and the states have made their laws. And actually, for the most part, that even states like, what was it, Arkansas? No, it wasn't Arkansas. It was, I think, Oklahoma, where they just were like, yeah, pro-choice, that's fine. And you'd think that they wouldn't do that, but yeah, most states are just are basically pro-choice. They might put some limits on it in terms of months or whatever, and that's generally what most people are for. They just want to limit, essentially. And then with regards to defunding Planned Parenthood, I think you should look into what Planned Parenthood has been getting up to over the past, say, 10 years, where you basically can call them up and get hormones and puberty blockers from them. They just hand them out, like pretty much like sweets. It's ridiculous. So, if they went back to actual care and providing, birth control and all of those other things that people actually support, then I don't think anyone would be talking about defunding them. I don't believe that he's against affordable health care. Who would be against affordable health care? Please, let's think about that logically. No, we want everyone to be bankrupt by health care. Yeah, that sounds like a reasonable thing that everybody would totally be for. And against gay marriage. Gay marriage is on the books. It is the law of the land. To overturn that would be extraordinarily difficult, and no one would be behind you. So I just don't see it. That if anybody else wants to chime in, I can look for the twos in the chat. When I started talking, there were none. So hold on, let me see. So I got Jose and Armin, you're next.
I just quickly wanted to mention two things about what Sherry and Samantha have been saying. Sherry, if maybe I misunderstood her. She was advocating for more self-reliance. Did I get that right? Because self-reliance is another word for isolationism. If you push for it too much, unless it's a security issue, then I understand it. But if it's just based on not having to rely on other people, Sherry, your microphone is open. If it's more based on just not economically depending on other countries, that is basically the issue we have with the communists and the woke right people. So we have to be careful, because United States is the most powerful country in the world because of global trade. Maybe I misunderstood Sherry, but I just wanted to highlight that. Also, Samantha keeps putting in the chat.
Can I respond to that?
Okay, you respond to that, and then I'll go to Samantha.
I'm sorry. When I say self-reliance, what I mean is as an individual taking care of our own well-being and stop expecting the government to take care of it for us.
Okay.
That's
So
how I meant self-reliance.
you did it. So you were talking about trade policy in the country. So sorry. I didn't. You were talking about individuals. Okay. So thank you for clarifying. This is why I said like maybe I misunderstood. I just have a gut reaction to hearing that. So Samantha, you posted in the chat that I told you in all caps the United States is going to be a communist country. Um, I don't know why you keep saying that. First of all, if you're saying that to celebrate that because you're a communist yourself, you shouldn't be celebrating that because with the communists taking over, that means Islam is going to take over, and I know you don't like that. So that's the direction that things are going. But if you're not celebrating that, then that's such a defeatist attitude, and you are a contributor to the spread of evil in the West by this defeatist attitude that you have. So yes, you say I'm not celebrating it because I'm afraid of the commies in the USA. Okay, so then you are accepting defeat instead of fighting for civilization. So you are contributing to the spread of evil and the downfall of civilization by spreading a very pessimistic, defeatist attitude. There would not be any point fighting for the West or civilization if you guarantee that communism is going to take over the United States in that way. So if you want to be a force for good, don't have such a certain defeatist attitude that everything is going to go to shit. It's not helpful. Okay, that was me.
Next is Kat.
Yeah. Samantha, I don't get like your opinions don't seem consistent. Like you're afraid of them, but then again, when I asked you if you want that in Israel, you said it's a low priority, as if it's a priority. So I don't get you. Like something's fishy. I don't get you. What? Either maybe you're just a confused person, or you're dishonest. I'm not sure. I'm not saying it is an attack. Like I really don't get you. But that's one thing. Um, the other thing, oh my God, I forgot now. Okay. What were we talking before that? Like, what was the earlier point before Samantha?
I was talking
Before
about
the isolationism.
isolationism. I was misrepresenting Sherry by saying talking about isolationism and self-reliance being two sides of the same coin.
You got the reaction. No, but I don't remember something before that. I guess it doesn't matter now.
Okay, take notes. I take notes, but I guess I
Thank
actually listen to me because I took the wrong notes.
you.
Oh, look at this. Shauna also forgot. So you forgot. Shauna saying skip my two. I forgot mine as well. Yes. Wow. Okay. All right.
Cheryl next, so maybe she forgot her too. I don't know.
Sherry, did you
Oh,
forget?
I remember. Can I?
Okay.
I
Okay.
remembered.
Catherine. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so I heard that Planned Parenthood was like established by a eugenist. I think that's how you say it. A person which was very racist. I saw even a quote which said something about how we should uh, lower the population of those like the word is like something like Nigeria or Niger, but different way of saying this, and we need to take care of that. Like, are Democrats aware of this? Like organization? Like what happens here? Like and they were very successful. The a lot of the clients for abortions by them were actually Black women. So good luck.
Next is Sherry.
Yeah, Kat, you have it nailed down. The founder of Planned Parenthood is Margaret Sanger, and her vision and her purpose was to get rid of undesirables, and she said it literally, Black and yellow people. She wanted to get rid of them. She wanted to literally a self-genocide per se. And that's why most of your Planned Parenthoods were located in low-income Black families and communities. That was her goal, was a type of genocide, but it was a quote self-genocide. And I, I just, yeah, I don't think for any way, shape, or form they're a nonprofit organization supposedly, and if they want to raise money to kill babies, then they have to raise it on their own. I don't think my taxpayer money should go and supplement that. They try to claim that they're about women's health care. Their number one generator for any kind of money is abortion, is killing children. And they're supposed to be mandatory reporters. If you have a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old child that comes in there who wants to have an abortion with some other man on her shoulder right next to her, and he's 36, there's an issue there.
Next is Shauna.
Okay, I remembered. One thing that you guys have to look at too to understand where the Democratic Party is. I mean, I've been doing, well, I'll just be honest, since like a week ago because I finally figured out how to do it. But look at where their funding is going, not just in the organizations they're funding, but in the campaigns where their campaign funding is going. There was, I can't remember what the percentage was or if it was a specific number that they gave me, but they have been actively reducing the funding they're sending towards abortion or Planned Parenthood advocacy. They're not talking about it as much because what they realized is that once it went back to the states and the states could have whatever they wanted in general, and that there would be protections for women who wanted to just go to a different state. It's not so nice, but it's still available. Now it's just not a winning issue for them anymore. Now, like, this is one of the most brilliant things that Trump has done, is he basically cut them off at the knees by sending it back to the states. So their money is not going towards that as an issue anymore. It's not that it's not there, but it has gone down from, like, if it was like a number 2 priority, it's now like a number 9 or 10 priority at best. So I don't know about the other issues that Jerry Samantha discussed. I'd have to like look into it. The affordable healthcare thing is a problem for Republicans, but the problem is that Democrats refuse, because they know that it's a winning issue for them. They refuse to actually define what that means other than Medicare for all or something like that. Like, they don't really ever spell it out. They just say, "Oh, we'll fix it. We'll just fix it." Yeah. That's that's how they handle it. We'll just fix it. So it's very easy for Republicans who are trained to just kind of hold their feet to the fire and say, "Look, what does the fix it mean? What does that mean? Okay, well, this is this issue." And I know that it's easy to do because I'm not a trained politician or a trained debater, and I've done it with family members and been like, "What do you mean?" Like, and that's just in a casual conversation. So if I can do it, then a trained politician who's a trained debater, Ben Shapiro, could, whip Mondani's ass in a debate. That type of, if you want to do a comparison. So I don't know about the other issues though. Those are the only two that I have any opinions about. But yeah, just look at where their money is going on their priority list. You can see where they're saying. So I know Drew Smith is at least wrong about the abortion thing. It's not a priority. I think that she's the one in the echo chamber, if I'm being honest.
Okay, I said no more twos. So I'm just going to say one thing is that I think that Democrats and Republicans both need to grasp the concept that you might disagree on some things, but you can still share a party. It's called compromise. It's called living in reality, where people don't actually have exactly the same views as another person. You can agree on quite a few things, but you're going to disagree sometimes. That's life. That's how it works. And I would advise, if people who are here who are afraid of commies and all of these terrible, things happening, and if you want to, and if you think voting for Republicans is going to be the thing that changes that, you need to work on the language that you use, so that you think that people are going to actually join you. That's part of the big tent, a bigger tent. Okay. I'm just going to say it. Killing babies. What are you talking about? Killing children? What are you talking about? That is not what an abortion is. And that's why in all the states where they're all voting on it and making their own laws now, because Roe v. Wade was overturned, they've pretty much matched what we have in Europe, which is very limited time frame, and it really isn't that common. It's really just not that common. So just, that's my advice. You can take it, you cannot take it, but whatever.
My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.